Welcome back to the channel, another episode of Fiancé and Finances. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate.
My name is Christine, and I'm a pharmacist, and we own a house together.
So today we want to talk about if we would consider renting out a room in our house. And for those of you who are new, this is a concept called house hacking. So for me, I've built up my real estate portfolio by house hacking, and Christine actually never house hacked any property that she owned. So we want to kind of give our different perspectives and decide, does it make sense for us to rent out a room in our house right now? Because we have a 3-bedroom house and we have basically 2 vacant rooms that we don't use, to be honest.
Yes, so we have a 3-bedroom house, 2 rooms that we don't use, an extra bathroom we don't use, and we share the master bathroom. So basically, about like half of the house that's not used as of now.
Yeah, it's crazy because we live in a small 450 square foot studio and we have like 2 vacant rooms. That's probably like half the size of the studio. When we lived in the studio, we used every nook and cranny of the house.
I would love to have that extra room, and if we were living in the studio, because we were just like cram packing everything.
Yeah, it was literally like bed, sofa, coffee table, TV. Like that's how cramped it was. But we used every single nook and cranny of that studio. Versus now we have a lot of excess space and an excess bathroom that we're not using. But obviously, once we have kids and all that, it'll be a different situation. But right now, it's just us two in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2.5-bath house, townhome. So let me share about my experience of house hacking. So my first house I bought at 27, I bought 10% down. And what I did was I lived in the master bedroom, which was huge, right? And then I had my own bathroom.
Wow.
And I had 3 other bedrooms I rented out for $1,000 each. And I did that basically twice. I did that for my first house. I did that for my second house when I was living in San Francisco. Same thing. I lived in the master bedroom in San Francisco, rented out 2 other bedrooms in that upper unit, and the lower downstairs unit, it was its own separate 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit that I rented out completely and never saw those tenants. So obviously, there's pros and cons to this. So the obvious pro is money, right?
Yes.
Like my house hacking properties, those tenants paid me enough to cover my mortgage.
You were able to cash flow, right?
Yeah, well, not cash flow, but like reduce my living expense. Because, for example, my mortgage was property tax and my principal and interest was $3,000 a month, and my 3 tenants paid me $3,000 a month.
Wow, so everything was hugely subsidized.
Yeah, so I just had to cover for property tax, insurance, utilities, right? So that's the obvious pro is that money. So imagine $3,000 a month times 12 months. That's 36K basically after tax, quote unquote, right? So, if we were to rent a home here for, let's say, a room for $1,000, that's $12,000 extra money that we could potentially get.
That's true.
Right. But obviously the downside is now you're dealing with 3 separate tenants and living with them.
Yeah, 3 different personalities, 3 different cleaning habits.
Yes.
That's where it gets tricky.
And more room for conflict, right? We all lived with roommates before, and there's always going to be conflict no matter how much you scream.
Yeah, or even if they are best friends.
Yeah.
There could be still conflict.
Like you could be best friends when you're not living together, but once you live together and see how your living habits are, you may not be friends anymore.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So for me, I would advertise on like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist to find tenants, and I targeted working professionals so that ideally they're never home.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. So I wanted people who were like never home. So imagine if I'm working day shift, I can get a nurse who's working night shift, and ideally we'll never see each other.
Opposite schedules.
Yeah, opposite schedules, and we'll never see them. Right. Another person I tried to target was those who maybe they only need to be there Monday through Thursday. And then on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're going home to spend time with their family. So at that point, like when I'm off on the weekend, they're not there, so I don't see them.
Nice.
Right. So that's another type of worker. Another one is, believe it or not, there's people who they basically are never home. They only go home to sleep, shower, and sleep. Right. And, there's tenants where I've had where they worked at like a restaurant. So they would eat their meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. And by the time they went home, it was just literally to shower and to sleep and to rest. So you barely saw them in the kitchen.
Yeah, I think that's one of my biggest concerns if I were to have a roommate. It's like if they would keep the kitchen clean, if they would clean the dishes, or like they would. I don't mind them using my dishes or anything, but if they would put it back,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And so ideally, you want somebody that doesn't cook often
Hmm.
because it's hard, right? When you're one person, it's actually might be more cost effective and time efficient to just eat out,
Yeah, or
right? Like
DoorDash.
or DoorDash or because I did that a lot when I was just living by myself because it doesn't make sense to buy like a bunch of groceries when it's just you. So, you kind of want people like that because, when you cook, there's more chance for a mess. And then if they conflict with your cooking schedule, then it just creates more conflict. And so, yeah, I experienced all the above,
That's
right?
true.
There's also been situations where the tenants, got into altercations, not physical, but like maybe verbal, because it's just different personalities in a room and you cannot control it.
I think the hardest part is like if, when you're screening someone, they're not actually this. They could be like totally different from when they actually move in. So just because everyone's on their best behavior when they're being interviewed, of course. I think one way to mitigate that is just maybe we can do a month to month lease in the beginning instead of the usual year lease.
Yeah, so a month-to-month leave, it gives flexibility both ways,
Yes.
right? It
Yeah.
gives us flexibility. If it doesn't work out, we can move them out. If it gives
Or
them the
they cannot want
flexibility,
to
yeah,
not want to
or
live here, or like they don't like the neighborhood or the living conditions. Yeah.
yeah, and they could be in a transient situation where maybe they just started a new job and they want to rent month by month until they realize they like the job. In which case, they'll just rent their own apartment. Like
Yes.
I've seen that a lot too. Or you might get contract workers who they're only there for like 3 to 6 months and they just need a place to stay for 3 to 6 months.
Right.
So like I did a lot of month to month, and like you said, there's pros and cons of that because the downside I saw was they did treat your house like kind of like a hotel, right? So they
Like an
wouldn't, yeah, like
Airbnb.
an Airbnb, like they wouldn't clean up after themselves as much. They wouldn't take out the trash. There's not as much accountability and ownership. So, I found myself cleaning up after them a lot. And what I ended up doing was because I had like three tenants living with me, I was just like, you know what? We're just going to get a maid to clean the whole
Hmm.
house every month. It's going to cost like $200 and we're going to divide the cost.
Oh, that's actually really smart. Then no
And
one can complain about like dirtiness or
yeah,
anything like that.
and but you have to set that precedent up front before they move in
That's
because if
true.
you change it last minute, they're like, oh well, I'm clean. Like this tenant over here is messy, so why do I have to pay for it? Like you hear that, but you just say up front, hey, um, every month we're going to split the cost of a maid to clean the whole house, common areas, your room, your bathroom, so it'll be clean. And then, in which case, it may help maintain your house, but
Hmm.
still, you're still as a landlord going to take care of the trash, take out the trash, any major repairs, right? Like, unfortunately, no one will take care of the property better than yourself. So that's kind of something to consider. So, kind of at the point where I'm at now is I was a huge proponent for house hacking. It helped me build up my wealth. It helped me save a lot of money. But now I kind of hit the point where like, oh, I kind of want that privacy. I want that comfort.
I like the quietness. So just
Yeah,
us two, too.
and like we live here. If I put something here, I know it's just gonna stay there,
Right.
and I don't have to like consider other people. Where like if we're filming this podcast, my tenant could just walk down the stairs and make noise and not realize it, right? So that's kind of what we're kind of going back and forth on of renting the room. It's like, well, what do you think, Christine?
Yeah, I think it also depends on like if we're able to refinance down the road, if like we can eventually decrease the price of the mortgage, that we probably don't need to house hack. But as of now, we definitely are able to afford a mortgage, and but it'll be nice to also have it subsidized. So I think that's just a conversation for the future, maybe down the road.
Yeah, and there's a lot of options. Like I said, we locked in a 6.5% interest rate, and we put 5% down, so we are paying some PMI. But if knock on wood, interest rates do drop to like 4 or 5%, and we were to refinance, it would probably shave close to $1,000
And
in
that's
terms of
basically
payments,
rent.
which is
Yeah.
basically what we would get for if we were to rent out one room. So it's something that we're considering, but there's other options too. I mean, we could like Airbnb one room
Hmm.
and maybe make it more transient to see if we like it and they can pay a higher premium. We could do month to month. And so it just really depends on what we're thinking about. But like
Yes.
right now, we're just focused on getting the house situated, getting us situated in our jobs, and don't want to have that factor just yet. But it's something like in our back pocket that we may consider, and maybe we'll just be really picky in who we choose. Like maybe
Yeah.
it has to be somebody who is barely home and works a reverse schedule of us.
It's just nice to have options as of now.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, hopefully you found value from this video and kind of our thought process of whether we should rent out a room or not, and the pros and cons of house hacking. Because I've been on both sides. I've been a house hacker where I rented a room, and I've also been the landlord renting out the room. So hopefully you found back from that video. Let us know if you have any questions or any comments. Love to see that. If you're interested in buying multifamily real estate and some guidance, check out the link down below. Consider the mentorship program. And please like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. See you next time.